Hello everyone and welcome back to the Superbet Poland tournament, where after 3 days of Rapid we have a tie for first place, and the winners of the Rapid section are Vladimir Fedosev, Alireza Firouzja here, and Aravind Chitambaram. But I'm going to show you a game from round 4 that was played between Alireza and Praggnanandhaa. It's a really fun game, and we're going to have 2 more days of Blitz, so we'll see what happens and who emerges victorious. So let's check it out. It's one of those games where, we could call it a day, but both players really just want to win, and then, something happens. So let's see what happened. Alireza opens with knight to f3. He starts off with a Reti opening. We have pawn to d5 and b3, transposing into the Nimzovich-Larsen attack. Pawn to c5, we have e3, knight to f6, and bishop to b2. Okay, nothing new here. This has all been played before. We have pawn to g6, pawn to c4, and d captures on c4 by Pragg. And usually everyone recaptures with the bishop, but here we have b captures on c4. And this is an extremely rare move, point being that it was played, for example, one of the more notable games I found was in 1954 between none other than the great Vasya Pirc and Laszlo Szabo, but also it was played this year in Tata Steel in January between Vincent Keimer and Max Warmerdam. So those are, the only two games that I could find where, this was played in notable games. So bishop to g7, we have bishop to e2, and both players castle kingside. So following both of those games that I've mentioned, we have pawn to b6, pawn to d3, and the bishop to b7. Both players playing fairly quickly, Praggnanandhaa even faster, and this is where we deviate from those games. Vasya Pirc played knight to c3 in this position in 1954, and Vincent Keimer went knight b to d2. But here we have queen to c2 by Alireza, and it is now as of move 10 that we have a completely new game. Okay, Pragg continues with knight to c6, nicely develops, and knight to e5. Offers a trade of knights, queen c7, puts pressure on the knight, and we have a trade. Captures, threatening checkmate, and of course inviting bishop to f3. So bishop to f3, queen c7, and nicely continuing development. Of course, Alireza wants Pragg to capture, so he can recapture with the knight on f3, and Pragg wants, well, he doesn't really want Alireza to capture, but if capture happens, he wants it to be on b7. So rook a to d8, and now bishop captures on b7. You don't have to play this. You could also just continue rook fd1 or pawn to a4, but it's going to be played at some point, so might as well do it now. But Pragg doesn't recapture automatically. First, he goes knight to g4. He also exposes the bishop on b2 and threatens checkmate on h2. So you have to deal with checkmate first, knight to f3, bishop captures on b2, we have queen captures, and queen captures on b7. We have rook f to d1, as this is a backwards pawn, so you want to get that d4 in as soon as possible. Rook to d6, Pragg prepares to double up on the d file, and pawn to a4. Rook f to d8, we have rook to a3, now defending that d3 pawn one more time, and pawn to a5. We have rook to b3, now going after the b6 pawn, and just knight to f6. We have pawn to h3, queen to c6, and knight to e5. Attacking the queen, also this is an excellent square for the knight. Queen to c7, and rook to b1. Now with a triple attack on the b6 pawn. So knight to d7, for the moment defending, offering a trade of knights, and Alireza declines the trade. He goes back knight g4, knight f6, Pragg again offers a trade, and knight to e5, Alireza again declines. We have knight to d7, and now knight to f3. We have rook to c6, rook to b5, and queen to d6. Again, putting pressure on that d3 pawn, so queen to c3, and queen back to c7, just keeping around that b6 pawn. We have rook 1 to b3, also adding more support to that d3 pawn, knight to b8. With ideas of maybe shifting the knight over to b4 to disconnect the rooks. So queen to e5, offering a trade of queens, and rook d to d6. Declining the trade, we have queen back to g3, and now knight to d7. We have knight to d2, and knight to f6. We have knight to f3, queen to d8, now getting off of this diagonal. Knight to e5 again, attacking the rook on c6, and rook to c8. We have queen to f4, queen to c7, and pawn to g4. So Alireza not happy with an equal position. He wants more out of the game. We have rook to f8, as the f7 pawn will become weak if that g pawn lands, so pawn to d4. We have c captures, e captures, and knight to d7. Offers a trade of knights. Knight captures on d7, we have queen captures on d7, and pawn to d5. Okay, that is a beautiful pawn, although it is still not a pass pawn. And there are, different ways you could play this. You could go rook to c8, or you could go rook to e8, maybe prepare e6, but Pragg lunges forward with pawn to e6 right away. And again, he wants more than a draw. Both of them want more than a draw. They want to beat the other guy. We have rook captures on b6, rook captures on b6, rook captures, and e captures on d5. And now Alireza could go for a sort of a double-edged position with pawn to c5, giving Pragg also the pass d pawn, and it would be pretty strong because you also have rook to d6 going after the queen and the pawn, and the white would definitely be better here. But he decided to trade. We have queen captures and now rook to b5 to go after the a5 pawn, queen to a8 defending the pawn, and now king to h2. With the black queen controlling this diagonal, you don't want to worry about something like rook coming to d1 with check, and then you just get checkmated. So here king to h2, wasn't played right away. Pawn to h4. Alireza decides to go after the black king. Now, if he can get h5, h6, queen f6, then the game is pretty much over. So here we have rook to e8 with the idea that we've discussed. Rook to e1 then nicely connects via the h1 square. King to h2 and queen to e4. Now Pragg offers a trade of queens and king to g3. Alireza says, sure, but I get to have the active king if we trade. So queen to h1, now trying to check the white king from behind. Queen to f3. Again, Alireza offers a queen trade and queen to g1 check. King h3, queen to f1 check, king to g3, queen to g1 check, king to h3, queen f1 check, king to g3, and now rook to d8. Pragg wants to win Alireza's queen via rook to d3, and we have rook to b3. The rook now defends the d3 square, but you no longer keep pressuring that a5 pawn. Queen g1 check, we have king to h3, and now rook to d4. Putting pressure on that a4 pawn, and also preventing the white queen from moving, as the g4 pawn would hang, but also this is the move that loses the game for Pragg, and it's very funny why. I could even use this as a thumbnail. Feel free to pause the video and win the game for Alireza here while I give you a couple of seconds. So I'm pretty sure you figured it out, as it's the only way to do it. It's not rook to b8 check, interestingly. If you decide to go rook b8 check, king g7, there's no way to actually do anything about this. For example, queen to c3 looks very nice, but queen captures on g4, checks the king, defends the rook, and there's not much there. So the idea is, after rook to d4, rook to b7. So you had the right piece, only, not all the way. Rook to b7. Now the thread is very simple. Queen captures on f7 checkmate, followed by queen g7 or queen h7 checkmate. And not a lot of good ways to handle this. There is one tricky way. You could play rook d3, and this is really funny. Now, if the white queen captures the rook, because, well, otherwise you're just going to lose it. If white queen captures, then you have queen to h1 check, and you pick up the rook on b7. The reason it doesn't work is very simple. You just give a check first. You get the rook off of the light square, and then you take the free rook. So you almost have a defense, but not really. So after rook b7, there's only one way. You have to defend the f7 pawn, and this is done by going queen f1 check, king to h2, and queen c4. Now the f7 pawn is defended, and this is something that you had to see when you decided to go rook to b7, and now, of course, you found the next move as well. So you don't have to pause the video again, but if by any chance you haven't, you're welcome to do so. I mean, again, it's not like I can stop you, but the winning idea is queen to f6. This is what Alireza played, and he was in this position on move 58 that Praggnanandhaa resigned the game, as there is nothing more to be done here. Of course, the queen cannot move. You have to guard the f7 pawn, so you cannot bring the queen to c8, and rook to d8 is impossible, as the queen is guarding the d8 square. So whatever you do, there are no checks, there are no tricks. Whatever you do, h6, h5, you move the queen, the rook doesn't really matter. It's a matter of a simple check. Then you give up all of your pieces. We can give them up one by one, and then at the end, rook h8 or queen to h8 will be checkmate. So yeah, beautiful game by both of them, and like I said, it's a game that could have gone either way, and if this was a classical game, or if it was important to both of them not to lose, of course we would have a draw. But here we just had the case of both of them really wanted to beat the other guy, and in the end Alireza was victorious. And Alireza was playing incredibly the entire 3 days throughout the rapid section, and had he not lost Aravind, as he lost on time, it was a pretty crazy game. Aravind was better, probably even winning at some point, than Alireza neutralized it, and in the end Alireza just lost on time. But yeah, it's a shared first for the moment in the rapid section. Vladimir Fedosev, Alireza Firouzja, and Aravind Chitambaran. We'll see what happens in the Blitz. 18 more very, very exciting rounds. So yeah, hope you enjoyed it. I would like to thank the Animated Chemist, Crash BPS1, Magician Chess, Sandal Nolast, and E1 Check for your contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot, I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you for watching, and I will see you soon, continuing to check up on your wonderful suggestions and whatever else happens in the chess world. Thank you all, I will see you soon, and have an excellent rest of your day.